everybody, my name is
H3TR.
and welcome to
Nomifactory.
This episode, we will set up our automated contraption for producing polyethylene, as well as dipping our toes into MV for the first time. I have been cooking up some silicon bowls here, which we will be needing soon for progression with this here circuit assembler. But this is kind of something that we're going to keep in the background. I think that our first real journey into MV should be about this processing chain, which is definitely something. This will make us able to create polyethylene, which is, as most things in Rectech, very close to reality, as it is one of, if not the most used type of plastic, and also one of the least complex looking, at least. I'm not sure if it is easy to make, but anyhow, we will need some interesting pieces of processing here, and I am 100% sure which route we're going to take. You could use fuel and oil, and you can distill that to all these types of, well, we're not going to get this yet, but we can distill all these types of things, which ethylene is one of. But this is quite complex, and I don't think it's a viable option for us. We will eventually try to make a distillation tower for all of these. Alright, well, anyway, so oil is off the charts. We're not going to be using that yet, although we definitely should consider getting some when we get a bit further in the chain. I have not yet really got a proper design for making this yet, although I have a pretty good idea, I think. But this is definitely going to need quite a lot of power, and that means that power is actually our first priority. Which also means that we're going to have to redesign the entire base once again. I forgot something as well. I have found a very, very good recipe for rubber, and it's based on this here. You can get a block of rubber by getting only 9 rubber pulp and a single piece of sulfur dust. So rather than compressing our sticky resin in this machine, we centrifuge it to get both glue and plant balls and, well, raw rubber dust, and then we put in here with sulfur, and then we can get a block of rubber for, I think, only 3 sticky resin with 1 sulfur dust, which is absolutely amazing. Right, with that said, I went right into designing how we're going to set up our polyethylene production system. Alright everybody, I think I have figured out some processing chain to get polyethylene. This is definitely not the most compact design, and I will talk about it after I've explained what this is, because I have already found some things that I want to change that I'm just too lazy to do in the design model. So let's review this real quick. We have 2 main ways of getting ethylene, which is the actual source for polyethylene. The main way of, well, this is the actual thing. So you make polyethylene by getting oxygen and ethylene. That's all that. It's not really special, but to get ethylene, we want to get this here recipe, which turns ethanol and sulfuric acid into ethylene and diluted sulfuric acid. But sulfuric acid is not very difficult to make, so I'm just just voiding the diluted sulfuric acid, because we really don't it's not that useful to us. It's really not necessary to waste in our machine and more power to getting it back while we have an excess of it. So yeah, then next up we have this here processing train, which gets well, actually I should explain. This is how you get sulfuric acid. We start with sulfur and oxygen that turns into sulfur dioxide in a chemical reactor. Another chemical reactor turns sulfur dioxide with oxygen into sulfur trioxide, which then gets turned into actual sulfuric acid with water and sulfur trioxide, and that gets sent into this chemical reactor. Now, to get ethanol is it's easy, but it takes a while. So that's also why I have two of these. These machines turn sugarcane into, I think it's plant balls. Yes, they turn them into plant balls. The plant balls get stuck into this macerator, and the macerator turns that into biochaff. You didn't see it, but yeah, biochaff with water turns into biomass, and then the biomass gets distilled into ethanol. You can also distill it into water, but for obvious reasons we're not doing that. So yeah, we're doing ethanol. These two, the last one of getting ethanol, the last process, and the process to turn sulfuric acid and ethanol into ethylene and diluted sulfuric acid, use MV machinery. So we need two types of power. First we need the MV here, which I've just simulated the power sources, as well as these things. They just simulate the input of sulfur here and sugarcane on these undersides here. So, and this is oxygen supplied to all these, and obviously this is water, another reservoir here, which gives water to the brewery and the chemical reactor. So yeah, I hope this is all clear. Now to point out what I want to change, these buffers here, by the way, are just for buffering. If you ever use a huge amount of polyethylene, so that it can have a reserve to turn into polyethylene afterwards, which, you know, is pretty great. But yeah, now I'm definitely gonna turn this design to something more compact. For example, I'm gonna turn this row, I'm gonna turn it down, because it's way easier to put, for example, well, it's gonna be way easier to get this up here in a single. Well, it's just gonna be more compact. I'm not sure exactly what my reason behind it is, but because I already forgot, but I'm sure it makes sense. Probably something to do with energy as well. And this one, I'm probably gonna make it bent so it doesn't stick out that much, rather just stays in place. And yeah, I think that's really it. I have not decorated this because I don't know, just didn't really feel like it. Besides, we don't really have the means of decorating yet anyways, so I just didn't do it. Like I said, this is not the final design, but I will get back to that later in the video. Right, so back here we should probably separate this power system from LV, and we should also try to make a passage here. I think that's definitely something important, because as of now there's really no way to get through this. Right, so my idea for the steam grinder is to just lower it down into the floor so we don't have it blocking our way, and then I'm going to try to actually run this cable here under the ground, and I'm not quite sure where yet, but I'm gonna move both of these machines somewhere more appropriate, because right now they're kind of in this awkward position. After moving around the multi-block machines and cleaning up the mess of our power delivery system, I made a passage through the middle of our machines and built a quick network of energy conduits so that there is a clear difference between the various sections of our base, such as power generation or the cobble works, for example. This we will expand on in the future as well. Obviously this will increase the general clarity of the base and make it look less cluttered like it does right now. So yeah, this is definitely a big improvement over what we had last time, and I think now it's a good time to get back to our polyethylene production. So let's take a look at the processing chains right there and see what we will be needing. Alright, so I found out that in total we need 4 basic chemical reactors, 2 basic compressors, 1 basic brewery, a basic macerator, an advanced, aka MV, chemical reactor, and an MV distillery. Yeah, that's right. So in total we will be needing to make 8 LV machines and 2 MV machines. Right, we have gotten ourselves all the machines along with some drums for buffering the fluids and storing the polyethylene, of course. And we also have gotten ourselves some energy converters to actually power this thing. Alright, I have changed up the processing chain a little bit, just to make it a little bit cleaner, and I think it came out quite well. I already removed the previous one, but if you recall, it was quite messy and not very compact. I've tried to compact this one a little bit more. The only thing that I kind of dislike is both this here cable that has to go all the way here, as well as the oxygen supply running underneath the thing, which is kind of hacky, but I think it's fine considering the rest is quite clean. Alright, let's put this thing together. I think that we just are going to pop everything down right now, and then we can see what we can do more later. With all of this polyethylene production here, we have unlocked quite a significant amount of new things for and better recipes. As you might have known, we can make diodes way more efficiently, as you can see here, but also batteries and things like inductors.
The inductor or coil is an electronic component capable of storing energy,
which we could not make before, and capacitors, transistors as well. Circuit boards are also a lot easier to make with this, although I doubt that we're going to need these for much longer. And this polyethylene will also help us make machine hulls, because rather than using, for example here, an LV machine hull, rather than using steel plate and two wrought iron plates, we can now just make it in this machine with two polyethylene. Well, it's the equivalent of two polyethylene sheets or ingots or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, this is definitely way less expensive, especially since we've automated this. The next thing we want to get into is these better circuitry recipes, and well, a lot of different things as well, which we'll use silicon wafers. We have already made some of these silicon bowls, whatever you want to call it.
Silicon bowl.
But we will need some MV machinery to actually get a proper way of making these. The first two machines I crafted were the advanced mixer, which can create increasingly complex compounds, as well as the advanced cutting machine, which allows us to cut up those silicon bowls we made earlier and actually put them to use. Since we have this advanced cutting machine as well as the mixer, I don't think we really have a use for the LV ones yet. So the mixer I'm going to stash, because I know that there will be automations that require this, but I don't really think that the cutting machine has much usage left. So I'm just gonna put it in the arc furnace to recycle it. And then I can also take this one. Next, we crafted an advanced electrolyzer. This thing would have allowed us to get chrome from ruby dust to make the vanadium steel required for the cutting machine. But as you might know or have seen in previous videos, I've already gathered some chrome dust from around the buildings, so we didn't really need that to get the cutting machine. But I didn't really want to wait with making this machine because it's so useful and it unlocks quite a lot of new materials, so I just decided to craft it now anyways. Alright, the electrolyzer, and this will trigger the string of quests to complete. After that, we got ourselves a precision laser engraver. This machine allows us to turn silicon wafers into various circuits, which we can cut up in the cutting machine and then use them for the circuits. I also got the advanced lathe. This isn't asked for in the quest book, but this allows us to make the lenses, which are required to make the types of wafers in the laser engraver, from plates rather than like the exquisite emeralds or exquisite other gems. They have low chance of being found in the sifter, besides the sifter is very slow. So I just thought that might be a good idea because we got the resources anyway. The lathe, let's hope we still have some sapphires left from exploring, and if that's the case and we have 9 of them, which we do, we can now get a sapphire lens, which will enable us to create ULOPICs, ultra low power integrated circuit. Is probably what it stands for, so let's just call it OPIC. Right, that's our final quest of this massive chunk of progression here. So yeah, very happy we've done that, and this technically opens the gate to HV circuits, which will be needed for various things. Okay, that was it for this episode. It is a bit shorter than my previous videos because I like to try to keep them a little shorter than usual and get out more of them in a shorter period without diluting the editing too much. Thank you for watching, I do. Subscribe you must, share also. See you in the next episode. I hope I will. Please like because algorithm. Farewell.
Peter, check it out, my new electric wheelchair.
Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden.